First of all, I want to thank Shubhanti for detailing me to present a paper. Earlier I thought I will say my task, the tradition is, the last speaker says my task is easier, but non-traditional says my task is now more difficult. Okay, and I have to now, I've heard a Canadian accent, an American and a pure British accent, therefore I would speak in an Indian English, and surely that shows the international sort of issue. What I'll do is, I will just, my paper has got certain headings, so I will just briefly show a few slides on these 6 headings. Why the non-traditional threats are increasing, then the idea of broadening, deepening and human security, UN and how the whole discourse is developing, then the laundry list of topic and themes, a huge laundry list. Then I talk of securitization and risk analysis, and then I give short, in the end, in conclusion, short answers to the 5 research questions and the opportunities and challenges for the future. Now the reason is given in my paper. I've added one more, that is drop in frequencies of war. Some don't agree, but that's okay. New physical threats are emerging, as we just heard Cleopascal. There's a globalization and interdependence and rising population and expectation. Yesterday only, the Brundtland report plus 25 was released. It says of 20 people internationally, the UN Secretary General has got it released that you need by 2030 50% more food, 45% more energy, 30% more water. I will not agree with that, but let's leave it there. We can have it in a Q&A. So the realist paradigm won't go away. Core concept of IR would remain as security, sovereignty and power. Geopolitics is still kicking and alive. State making, war making, protection and extraction would remain the activities of the state, and traditional security issues like security dilemma, territorial disputes and power transition would coexist. So now we've broadened it. I'll not waste time on the security, referent object, but only in my paper, ASEAN should have celebrated broadening of security, because when I read Daniel Dudney or Stephen Walt, the second page says American interests, whereas we should celebrate broadening. So there I sort of reinterpret it as a celebration. And you have deepening of human security is now 25 years old, that human Indo-Pak, Mehbubul Haq and Amartya Sen effort. There is also vertical going up to global commons, which I'll talk. So UN, we all know, was referred that fundamental report. And then I'm happy General Nambiar is here of the second bullet. He was a member of this high level panel, which identified the problems, but said, let the state be the center. Now you have to have governments and passports and money. I mean, you cannot have a world without states. So that's the reality. So what did they say? And the one in, not in blue, A and F is totally what we are discussing today. Economic, societal threats, poverty, etc. And Foxtrot is organized crime. So they've already worked on it. But as the new report says, the political will is lacking. So we are now here sort of getting a discourse done for political will. Okay, now I just want to show that the non-traditional threats other than climate change, etc. are increasing. Worldwide debt has increased from 84 to $195 trillion. Financial disaster is an unholy trinity of bankers, politicians and house builders. Sovereign wealth fund, it's a Westphalian, pre-Westphalian sort of, you can sort out a country with sovereign fund, which I'm surely we can discuss tomorrow or day after. Then the total annual income of organized crime is 3 trillion and twice the military budget. And what is in red is for Anna Hazare, because it's being streaming. He'll get totally angry when he realizes that World Bank estimates $1 trillion are paid in bribe each year. So that's it. So these are the new non-traditional threats. This is the new cyber attack, would be a next Pearl Harbor. I take it under non-traditional. In Asia, the heroin continues The people who get stoned are in Russia and Europe and America, but the production is there in Afghanistan, and 90% from the Golden Crescent, and then 10% from the Golden Triangle. And we all know that the carriage is more lucrative. So these are the new threats in a modern society. Global common is a new problem. Space, ocean, cyberspace. 10 speeches I have referred in my paper by Indian policy planners. And that's it. We need to treat Arctic as a global common and Tibet as a regional common. 2 of my work is already there. So that's the new discourse. So let's see what are the topics and themes. Institutional, funding and livelihood. Also, I've mentioned in my paper, you want to get a job. Barry Buzan says universities have got their own institutional, so they get fund and then keep doing that research. That's a very strong sort of force. So that topics will continue. But think tanks in India have done it. The defense minister did mention the Asian Security Conference listed 13 issues. And I shouldn't be talking. There are 3 scholars from IS. They have institutionalized NTS. So I will skip the slide. Chinese scholars out of 3, 2 have somehow not come. I saw their writing. They have given a very nuanced understanding of 2 categories. One is directly which influences. Economic security is the core, resource security the nucleus, environmental security the kernel. So in a Chinese characteristic way, they beautifully poetry. And here is the second part of the poem. 3 evils, 3 no's is part of environmental security at the second level. Non-traditional, I beg your pardon. Transnational crime, drug trafficking is the core. And SARS and diseases is the third. But in my research, I found that when China talks of Central Asia, they list out in priority terrorism, separatism, extremism, water and drug traffic. And when they talk of ASEAN, piracy, smuggling, human trafficking, etc. So there's a little shift in the writing. And in Southeast Asian work, I found that energy security and economic security is already traditional, they say. So there's a huge complexity. My task is more difficult. But we all know, somebody had mentioned, it became in the speech by the Raksha Mantri that after 9/11 it sort of got energized. West Asia, missed out in my paper. Asian Security Conference, 4 years ago we had one chapter on West Asia, wherein energy was a traditional security, but the other challenge identified were fundamentalism, religious terrorism, crisis of legitimacy and water resource. Right, securitization was taken from banking system, transported to security, and I've somehow am comfortable with this, although it started as a European route. Securitization issues are easy to securitize. Some are easy to securitize. Straightforward example. Politicization such as ozone layer protection via Montreal Protocol occurred through its securitization. That's it. Some are not. Climate change. We had a great debate when the UK put up it in the UN. Corruption has not been securitized. HIV not securitized. But SARS, that new lab created H5N1 is in the process of getting securitized. So that is securitization. And the next, third layer is risk analysis. We need to be very careful because it sort of spreads risks. But we have seen how spreading risks has caused the financial Great Recession. So here there are 2 bankers, financiers talk of risks, and then the chair is a sociologist. He will probably agree with me that a risk society has happened, and I quoted Ashish Nandi. Nobody wants to die of smallpox or chicken pox, but you want to die of diabetes and heart attack. That's the new society. And China is urbanizing. So there we are. Critical infrastructure, we've had 2 conferences. The whole everything, GPS, pipelines, dams, water, metro train, everything, ATMs, everything is connected. So there is a huge problem of a chain reaction. And I have mentioned that Swiss scholar in CIPRI in 2002, he had given 200, there's a huge chart in that CIPRI yearbook. So in the conclusion, what I'll do is, I will state that interaction of non-military issues with ideas of securitization and risks has created a minefield of threats to security. But I summarize, I'll give short answers to the 5 questions and why non-traditional threats are unique and what opportunities they offer and the challenges. So short answer to the 5 research questions. What constitutes non-traditional threat? We've already said A, mostly non-military issues which impact on state, human security and global common. Then second is they are interchangeable. Ken Booth says, a poor person, how dare you say it's a non-traditional security to him, poverty. It was always traditional. And in my paper I was seeing the famine in 42 in West Bengal. 30 lakh died. It was not securitized because context is different. We cannot ignore the well-being of the planet any longer. So that's the first answer to question 1. Question 2, how are they different? Military means are insufficient and they demand futuristic strategic thinking and cooperation. How should they be addressed? Policymakers and elite and academics and public needs to be involved and state has to be in the forefront and it has to be included in a national policy through the concept of strategic culture. C is important, which in Q&A I can discuss. Absence of theories of IR for non-traditional security is a new challenge to be met. Asian think tanks and academics have got a lot of work on this and that is point 4 of the challenge which will come later. Should the approach template be different and if so why? I think it has to be evolutionary and issues of global common are best dealt by traditional approaches and everything is getting integrated and the new concept we saw the NTS in Singapore, R2P is a new non-traditional security threat. So there we are. We have to have a evolving template. Will they evolve into a traditional conventional nature? Yes. Time now for a body of the energy security under the UN. It's only IAEA. But I think there is a time we need to have an energy body. Water war hypothesis needs to be disapproved by cooperation. Why should we agree with the water war hypothesis? Third, institutional cooperation for climate chaos and pandemics. We need to do that and economic security will gain in security thinking. But mercantilist type of attitude, beggar thy neighbor, must be discouraged. So why are they unique? We all understand wars cannot solve the problem. And point 2 is collective effort is required. Point 3 is a repetition. These are strategic challenges. And point 4 is IR has ignored large section of humanity. And IR privileges death by politics over death by economics. And 90% of the citation is of IR scholars in India of West. So we should broaden it and celebrate. Yes, we'll do it. We will do a harder work. Traditional security has failed to deliver meaningful security to people of Asia. There's no doubt about it. Ramesh Thakur, Sainath, everybody's talking. Not even leftist, all critical security. Even Prime Minister keeps talking about it. Point 6 is, although the threats are multidisciplinary, but same set of elites, civil servants, military personnel, strategic community, and the panel itself has got 2. So even with human security, we will be talking about it. So that's the uniqueness of this. We have to understand, we have to change. The threat is there, but the thinking has to change. Point 7, that's it. Military continues to be a handy tool. American military, all militaries, Chinese PLA, military operation other than war. Indian Army has got 10 battalions. And in the Montreal Protocol, the Indian Air Force is helping banking of halon, which is destroying the ozone layer. So military has got a huge role. So what are the opportunities? The non-military threats are wider. More number of people are involved. And it is transdisciplinary. And it is not elitist. And it forces us to do critical thinking. Even in issues such as water. Here I would like to say that argument is that prior right, historical Helsinki rules, whoever constructs a dam first grabs that water. That's old thinking. What about the anthropological, cultural, ecological arguments of the people of Arunachal and Assam? So therefore, we are all racing down to the bottom. Quickly build dams, Chinese on the Yarlung Zangpo and Indians. Whereas this discourse is the new non-traditional challenge through the academic and the policy community. That you have an argument for ecological reasoning. A civil engineer was building dams of the previous century. So the opportunity is it makes possible unconventional, unorthodox and innovative thinking. That's what non-traditional is. In traditional, remember, in peace, govern with traditional. There's a Chinese saying, in war be unorthodox. We all know that. So traditional security, war be unorthodox, be non-traditional. A good soldier understand that, good Navy, Air Force. But here, it is now getting a discourse out. So what are the challenges? Last slides. It is multidisciplinary. Therefore, you have to either work yourself or work as a team. You visit national interest in a cosmological way. And point 3 is adults are part of the problem. The children have to be part of the not part of the problem. So how do adults become part of the solution? That is the challenge. And point 4, which I had mentioned earlier, we need to refine and attempt IR theory of non-traditional security. And in the end, I think most of us are adapting. What is required is a normative mitigation. A normative mitigation, because although theory follow event, but here there's a chance to get the political economy in a normative way, so that these complex threats are taken care of. Thank you, Chair.